Enzo Fernandez is undoubtedly the most dislikable, objectionable footballer in the entire World Cup.
I'm sick, man. I'm sick. I feel sick.
In terms of behavior, we have to talk about this. I think Enzo Fernandez is a pig. No manners, no decency, no sportsmanship. It's just 100% trash.
The way the guy's conducted himself on the pitch is just absolutely disgusting.
Just 4 years ago, Enzo Fernandez looked like football's next golden boy. He was named the World Cup's best young player, became one of the most exciting midfielders around, and played with serious fight, confidence, and that little bit of edge fans love to see. But fast forward to today, and the whole vibe around him has changed. Even some Chelsea fans have grown frustrated, especially with all the talk linking him with Real Madrid, while reports suggest Madrid haven't exactly been rushing to make a move for him. Then there's the controversy that followed him after Argentina's Copa America celebrations, when he faced major backlash over a chant widely condemned as racist and discriminatory. He's also dealt with boos, criticism in England, and non-stop heat online over different moments involving his football and public image. So how did a player who became one of football's biggest success stories and later commanded a massive transfer fee end up becoming such a divisive figure? Somehow, wherever Enzo's name pops up, another debate seems to be right behind it. And here's what makes the story complicated. Part of me still wants to rate the guy. On the pitch, you can see why clubs were willing to spend huge money on him. He plays with swagger, intensity, and sometimes looks ready to take control of a game. But some of his choices and controversies away from the action have made him much harder for certain fans to support. That contrast is wild. A player capable of showing real quality 1 minute, then finding himself at the center of another heated conversation the next. He's one of those players who can become a fan favorite when he wears your shirt and gives everything for the badge. Enzo came through River Plate in Argentina, and you can see that competitive edge in the way he plays. There's confidence, emotion, swagger, and sometimes a bit of arrogance too. That fire helped turn him from a highly rated young midfielder into a World Cup winner and one of the biggest money signings in football. But that same edge can also rub people the wrong way. Between heated moments on the pitch, controversial incidents away from it, and the criticism surrounding him, Enzo has become an easy target for rival fans, especially in England. And then you've got all the Real Madrid speculation. After weeks and months of reports linking him with Madrid, the situation now looks very different, with the Spanish giants reportedly looking at other midfield targets instead. If Rodri is one of those options, then yeah, I'm taking Rodri ahead of Enzo Fernandez. And that leaves Enzo in a pretty awkward spot. When your name keeps getting linked with a massive move, but the club supposedly has other priorities, questions start flying about what happens next and where you really stand. Enzo Fernandez was born and raised in Argentina, coming through the famous River Plate system, one of the biggest clubs in the country, and for many fans, the biggest. This is a club with massive expectations, serious history, and a football culture where talented young players quickly learn that simply being good isn't enough. River Plate have long been associated with an aggressive but attractive style of football. There's intensity, but there's also technique and swagger. The club takes huge pride in playing football with style, not just getting the result. Then you've got Boca Juniors on the other side of that legendary rivalry, carrying their own identity, passion, and edge. Put those two together, and you get one of the fiercest football rivalries anywhere in the world. That environment helped shape Enzo into the player people started noticing. He built his reputation in Argentina, won silverware with River, and showed enough potential to attract attention from Europe. But instead of jumping immediately to one of the continent's giant clubs, he made a smarter move, Benfica. Portugal gave him the perfect stage to level up, face stronger European competition, and develop without instantly carrying the crazy pressure that comes with joining a global powerhouse. And at Benfica, Enzo really started breaking through as a complete midfielder. He could score, create chances, defend, press hard, and get aggressive when it was time to win the ball back. He was becoming the type of player who could do a little bit of everything in midfield, and suddenly Europe had a serious talent on its hands. But then came the 2022 World Cup, and everything changed. Enzo arrived in Qatar as part of Argentina's squad after making a rapid impact at Benfica, but he wasn't expected to immediately become one of the main men. In that shocking opening defeat against Saudi Arabia, he started on the bench, with Rodrigo de Paul, Leandro Paredes, and Papu Gomez starting in midfield. Enzo came on in the second half, but Argentina still suffered one of the biggest upsets of the tournament. And sometimes football really is about getting one chance and grabbing it. Argentina's next game against Mexico was basically do or die. And once again, Enzo started on the bench. Lionel Scaloni changed things around, with Guido Rodriguez coming into midfield alongside De Paul. But Enzo would get another opportunity that night. And this time, he was about to make sure everybody knew his name. And then Enzo finally got his moment, and he took it with both hands. Coming off the bench against Mexico, he scored a beautiful late goal to seal Argentina's 2-0 win. From that night on, everything changed. He started the next game against Poland, grabbed an assist, and suddenly that midfield spot belonged to him. At just 21 years old, Enzo played with confidence way beyond his age. He brought aggression, energy, movement, and the ability to move the ball quickly through midfield. His passing gave Argentina another weapon, while his work rate made him someone Lionel Scaloni could trust when the pressure was sky high. For a player who hadn't started either of Argentina's opening 2 games, his rise during that tournament was crazy. By the end of the World Cup, Enzo wasn't just the champion, he had also been named the tournament's best young player. In a matter of weeks, his reputation exploded. He went from an exciting Benfica midfielder to one of the hottest young players in world football, and suddenly Europe's biggest clubs knew exactly who he was. But signing him was going to cost serious money. Chelsea were the club willing to go all in, eventually paying a British record transfer fee at the time to bring him to Stamford Bridge. They needed a statement signing, and Enzo looked like exactly that. A 22-year-old midfielder arriving fresh from an incredible World Cup run, with the hype around him absolutely massive. This was a massive statement from Chelsea and Blueco. In their eyes, they had just secured one of the most exciting midfielders in world football for a British record fee, and they weren't finished either.
There is not one redeeming feature to Enzo Fernandez. There is absolutely nothing about him that I find even mildly inspiring. He is a brat. He is a brat. He is an objectionable brat. He is incredibly dislikable, and some of his conduct, it's actually blown my mind.
Just months later, Chelsea doubled down by signing Moises Caicedo in another deal worth more than £100 million. In barely any time at all, they had committed over £200 million to 2 midfielders expected to become the heartbeat of their entire project. So, how did Enzo actually do at Chelsea? You could say pretty decent, especially considering the chaos around the club. He showed flashes of his quality straight away, with his passing, vision, and ability to control possession. But the goals and assists weren't exactly flying in. And when you arrive with a price tag that huge, every performance gets put under the microscope. As time went on though, Enzo started looking more comfortable in English football. He grew into his role, became more influential, and gradually emerged as one of the stronger personalities inside a ridiculously young Chelsea squad. And that matters because this Chelsea project was built heavily around young talent. There weren't loads of experienced veterans leading the dressing room, so certain players had to step up, earn respect, and establish themselves near the top of the pecking order. Enzo quickly became one of those guys. Then, the numbers started climbing. One season brought 40 appearances, 7 goals, and 3 assists. The next jumped to 46 games, 8 goals, and 14 assists. And this past season was his biggest statistically, an insane 61 appearances, with 16 goals and 10 assists. Whatever you think about Enzo, those numbers show just how involved he has become for Chelsea. The interesting thing is that his exact role can be difficult to pin down. It changes depending on the manager and the system, but the core job stays pretty similar. Most of the time, Enzo is Chelsea's tempo setter. He'll drop deeper alongside Moises Caicedo, get on the ball, and help dictate how the team moves possession. Slow it down, speed it up, switch the play. Enzo is often one of the guys controlling that rhythm. But he doesn't just sit deep all game. With Caicedo usually providing more defensive security, Enzo can push higher, roam into dangerous areas, and become an extra body around the box. That freedom allows him to influence attacks without giving up his deeper responsibilities. And the biggest weapon in his game is still that passing range. He can break lines, switch the ball across the pitch, and stay composed when opponents press him. When Chelsea needs someone to receive the ball under pressure and keep the whole machine moving, Enzo is built for that job. He's not an easy player to take the ball from, and once Enzo gets possession, his first thought is often to move it forward quickly, get the ball up the pitch, find the wide players, and let Chelsea's attackers create the danger. The problem is, Chelsea haven't always had consistent threat coming from those areas, which can make Enzo's job of controlling and progressing the ball look less effective than it actually is. But that's the football side of Enzo. Now we get into why he has become such a controversial figure, and this is where things get serious. One of the biggest moments came after Argentina won the 2024 Copa America, 2 years after their World Cup triumph. During the celebrations, Enzo live-streamed himself and other Argentina players singing a chant about the French national team that was widely condemned as racist and discriminatory. The backlash hit almost immediately. The French Football Federation announced it would file a complaint over the chant, and the controversy followed Enzo straight back to Chelsea. Even some of his own teammates publicly reacted. Wesley Fofana shared the video on social media and wrote, "Unacceptable racism." That made the situation even more explosive. Because this wasn't just rival fans going after Enzo online. One of his own Chelsea teammates was publicly calling out, "What happened?" And the fact that Enzo himself live-streamed the celebration only brought even more attention to the incident. The fallout became massive. Chelsea opened an internal disciplinary process. FIFA said it was looking into the incident, and Enzo Fernandez publicly apologized, saying he was truly sorry for what happened. Online, though, the debate quickly became much bigger than one video. Some people argued that the chant itself was clearly offensive, without claiming they knew Enzo's personal beliefs or what was going through his head. Either way, the incident seriously damaged his image and gave critics another major reason to go after him. But there are also football reasons why Enzo can get under people's skin. His celebrations, his aggression, and the swagger he carries on the pitch can make him incredibly irritating when you're supporting the other side. He plays with that street-smart edge where he doesn't seem too bothered about making friends with the opposition or their fans. And that's exactly why opinions on him can be completely different depending on which shirt you support. To many Argentina fans, that fire makes him a hero. He represents the emotion, confidence, and competitive attitude they want to see when their country is fighting for trophies. But to rival supporters, those same celebrations, gestures, and heated moments can come across as arrogant and seriously annoying. That's the Enzo Fernandez effect. What one fan sees as passion, another sees as pure provocation. And you know what? If an England player acted like that after winning something massive, I'd probably love it too. Football needs characters. It needs players with swagger, emotion, and a little edge, because nobody wants every player acting like a robot. But there's still a line between bringing fire to the game and letting that emotion start working against you. And with Enzo, there are moments where critics feel he crosses that line. His body language can come across as frustrated or petulant, especially when things aren't going his way. You see similar criticism aimed at players like Alejandro Garnacho, where the confidence and attitude that fans love when things are going well can suddenly look very different when the team is struggling. Cristiano Ronaldo has faced versions of that criticism throughout his career too. During his second spell at Manchester United, one of the biggest examples came when he left before the end of the Tottenham game under Erik ten Hag. For critics, moments like that can make a player's frustration look bigger than the team itself. And Enzo sometimes gets judged through that same lens. Watch him when a decision goes against Chelsea and he can be straight over to the referee, protesting and showing exactly how annoyed he is. Bruno Fernandes gets similar heat for constantly appealing decisions. Some fans call that passion and leadership, others see it as complaining. With Enzo, that fiery streak is part of what makes him entertaining, but it's also exactly what makes him so easy for rival fans to dislike. Arguing with officials, looking frustrated, throwing his arms around, and for some Chelsea fans, that body language has started raising questions. When Chelsea aren't winning, critics sometimes interpret Enzo's reactions as frustration turning into disinterest. Other supporters see the exact same thing and call it passion. That's the divide with Enzo. One fan sees a player desperate to win, while another sees someone who looks fed up with everything around him. Then you add the Real Madrid conversation, and suddenly things get even messier. While away on international duty, Enzo spoke positively about Madrid and said, "I would love to live in Madrid." And look, you can understand the appeal. Madrid isn't exactly a terrible place to live. But when you're a Chelsea supporter already questioning a player's body language, hearing one of your biggest stars openly praise Madrid is obviously going to get people talking. That's where the speculation really starts going crazy. Fans connect his frustration on the pitch with those comments and start wondering whether he actually sees his long-term future at Stamford Bridge. But there's a difference between speculation and knowing what Enzo actually wants. And because Enzo has become such an important figure at Chelsea, every comment carries extra weight. He's been trusted with major responsibility in the squad, so whenever another transfer window arrives and Real Madrid links start appearing again, the same question comes straight back. How committed is Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea? And to be fair to Enzo, he put together another pretty strong World Cup. He delivered when Argentina needed him, scoring a clutch winner against Egypt in the knockout rounds before stepping up again with another huge goal against England in the semi-final. In the biggest moments, Enzo was showing up, and across the tournament, he had plenty of performances that reminded everyone exactly why he carries such a massive reputation. But then came the final, and everything fell apart. Argentina ran into Spain, and Enzo came up against Rodri in midfield. On that night, there was barely a comparison. Rodri controlled the battle, while Enzo struggled to make his usual impact. For a player who normally wants to dictate the tempo, he suddenly looked almost invisible as Spain took control of the biggest game of the tournament. And then it got even worse. Enzo was already sitting on a yellow card when he flew into another challenge and got sent off. Seriously, when you're already booked, going into a tackle like that is playing with fire. The contact sent the opponent flying. The referee made the call, and Enzo's World Cup ended with a red card in the final. What had been another impressive tournament suddenly finished in the ugliest possible way. Sent off, Argentina beaten, and Spain celebrating. And once the dust settled, attention immediately shifted back to Chelsea. After all those Real Madrid links and comments, the big question returned. Does Enzo actually stay at Stamford Bridge? So where does that leave Enzo now? Well, despite all the noise, he may end up staying at Chelsea. He's coming off a strong season, but with Rodri potentially available and Real Madrid constantly linked with elite midfielders, the Enzo rumours have become even more interesting. His own comments about Madrid certainly haven't helped either, because every time he speaks positively about the city or the club, the speculation kicks off all over again. But then came what looked like the ultimate rejection. Real Madrid publicly denied reports that they were trying to sign Enzo, stating, regarding an alleged interest from Real Madrid in the player Enzo Fernandez, the club wishes to state that it has not made any effort, either direct or indirect, to sign the aforementioned player, and likewise has no intention of undertaking such an operation. Wow. If you're Enzo, that is awkward. Imagine being linked with someone for ages, everybody thinking something might happen, and then they publicly come out and basically say, nope, we're not interested. That's a savage way for the rumours to get shut down. And now Chelsea have a big decision to make. Some supporters have grown frustrated with Enzo's behaviour and the constant transfer speculation, while others still see him as a crucial part of the project.
Enzo Fernandez is the most hated player on the planet right now. He has just arguably lost the final of the World Cup for his country by getting a red card, and he scored the equaliser against England, so nobody in England's going to like him. He's going to get booed at every single Premier League game. And do you know what? I don't really like him, to be honest. He is just a really horrible player. He's a good player on his day, but you know, some of the things he does is just questionable, man.
If Chelsea ever believed his commitment was fading, selling him while his value remains high could become an option. But unless Enzo or Chelsea clearly push for an exit, the idea that he definitely wants out remains speculation, and for now, this whole situation is stuck in a seriously awkward place. But here's the awkward part. If Real Madrid really aren't interested, then where does Enzo actually go? More importantly, which club would be willing to pay the kind of money Chelsea would probably demand for him? That's where this whole situation gets complicated, because we're talking about an expensive midfielder entering his prime, not some bargain transfer. Could another Premier League giant make a move? Manchester City is an interesting hypothetical, especially if they ever needed another elite midfielder around that deeper role. Enzo has the passing range, composure, and ability to control tempo, but would City really spend enormous money to get him? That's a completely different question. Stylistically, Atletico Madrid could actually be a fascinating fit. Enzo has the aggression, intensity, personality, and competitive edge that could work under Diego Simeone. An Argentine midfielder with that much fire playing for Simeone, you can already picture it. But again, the money becomes the problem. Chelsea paid a massive fee for Enzo, and after strong performances for club and country, they'd have little reason to sell him cheaply. Then you look around Europe. Bayern Munich, hard to see at that price. Liverpool or Arsenal, possible on paper, but there's nothing here suggesting they'd actually pay what Chelsea would want. Manchester City might have the financial power, but even then, they'd have to believe Enzo was worth the investment. And that brings us back to the bigger point. Enzo Fernandez isn't divisive because he's a bad footballer. Enzo Fernandez isn't disliked because he lacks talent. It's because every big success seems to be followed by another controversy, another frustrating performance, or another headline that gets people talking. One week, he looks like the midfielder Chelsea paid a fortune for. The next, people are questioning his attitude, his future, or something that happened away from the football. But you know what? Football needs players like Enzo Fernandez. Whether you love him or hate him, you're probably going to have an opinion about him. He's talented, aggressive, emotional, controversial, and unpredictable. And that makes him interesting. In an era where so many players carefully manage everything they say and do, Enzo keeps giving people something to talk about. So now the biggest question is simple. What happens next for Enzo Fernandez? Does he stay at Chelsea, block out all the noise, and prove he can become one of the best midfielders in the Premier League? Or does another club eventually come in and give him the chance to start a completely new chapter? Whatever happens, one thing is clear. People are going to be watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with another football fan. And comment below, what do you make of Enzo Fernandez? Is he misunderstood, overrated, or exactly the kind of character modern football needs? Let me know.